Hi, my name is Richard, and I'm the iOS developer and creator of CalendarKit. In the previous tutorial, we've created an app similar to the default Apple Calendar. However, we still had to go back to the default calendar in order to add or create events, which later showed up in our app. Now we're going to take our project even further by adding editing and event creation capabilities. If you haven't watched the first video, I highly recommend you watching it right now. I'll put the link in the description. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel because I'll be posting more iOS related content soon. And if you're ready, just open the Xcode and let's get started. Since we are continuing with the existing project instead of starting a new one, we'll need to clone the repository containing the previous source code that we created in the first video. So open the Xcode. We'll be using the clone an existing project feature. So you'll need to enter the repository URL here. You can find it pretty easily. I'll sure to add a link in the description, but you can find it online as well. Just find CalendarKit, Swift, and the first link is basically a link to a library. But then you need to scroll more and find a sample app, which is here. And this is the app I'll be using as our starting point. So click on the code and copy the link. Then open the Xcode and paste the link into the repository URL. And press clone. Then select where you want to clone your new repository. For me, it's desktop, and press clone. So the project is open and it includes all the changes that we've made before, and also it actually includes all the code that we are going to create in this tutorial. So we need to switch to the starting point. To do that, click on the source control in Xcode and then select repositories and unfold the calendar app. Then you need to select tags. So we are right now on the tag number 2, which is basically the final application. But in order to start from the beginning, you need to select the tag number 1. Just right click on the tag number 1 and select checkout. And press confirm. If you have the same window, stash changes, just select apply stash after operation and click stash and check out. So now we are in exactly the same state. We finished our previous tutorial and we'll be adding all of that editing capabilities into our application. So let's go to the files and run our app. Don't pay attention to this black navigation bar that you're seeing. It's an issue because of the Xcode beta that I'm using, and I'll fix it in this code and you'll find it in the solution, but I will not explain the solution here. I'll just quickly copy paste the code I have. Let's launch the app again. So we are right now in the same spot we finished our tutorial with. And if you click on the event that you have in the calendar, it will not open anything. It will basically be do nothing. But for example, if you go to the default calendar and compare the same event, you'll be able to go and check the details. Let's add this functionality first. As you know, CalendarKit uses a data source pattern to get the events from your view controller or your data source if you have a specific object acting as a data source. So CalendarKit asks for the events and you provide the events for a particular date. However, when we want to get feedback, for example, when our event got clicked or somebody tapped somewhere on the timeline, CalendarKit uses the similar pattern called delegate. So it will notify another object called delegate that something has happened. So we'll use the delegate pattern to get events that somebody has tapped on our event view. So just scroll down and add the method that we'll be using to react on the click. So as you might guess, to react on the event tab, you just need to use the method called DayViewDidSelectEvent. And this event will be called whenever somebody is selecting our event. And let's add some print statements to check if this callback gets called. Print event clicked, and run our app again. As you can see, we are getting events, so everything is working as expected. But before we continue, we need to clean up our code a bit. As you remember, we had to convert the EventKit events to our own CalendarKit event types. And when we're dealing with a lot of behaviors such as editing and creation, we're better to use our own data type. It will be more convenient. Our own data type will encapsulate all of that behavior so that we won't have to worry about converting from one data type to another and tracking changes. Click on a file and then new file. We'll create a new data type that will be specifically converting between EventKit and CalendarKit data types. Select Swift file, press next, and add it to your project. We'll call it EK wrapper. So it will wrap the event key event. Press create and don't forget that add to target should be checked. So, and import few frameworks. Import UIKit and import CalendarKit. And of course import EventKit. You can delete import foundation because UIKit includes foundation. And we won't write our code from scratch. We'll just go and copy the existing class and modify it to our taste. Select file, open quickly, or Command-Shift-O on your keyboard. And then type event. And you'll find the default CalendarKit event class. It's rather large, so you'll need just select all and copy. And just paste it to our own class. As you can see, the default event class just stores the data, such as start date, end date, and so forth. What we'll need to do is basically use our EventKit event to provide that information for us. Let's modify the initializer first and just select init and add EventKit event. And of course, we'll need to add EK event and just store this event here. We'll create a variable. And what we want is that only the EK wrapper can change this event and swap it. So it will be a private property to set, but public to access. So any class can get this event, but nobody can set it except the wrapper itself. So just add a private public. Just add public, public, and then private set or event. And just in your initializer, just assign this property on the initialization. And this is actually very important for the editing, but we will not modify it for now. And just add fatal error so that we silence the compiler. And what we'll need to do now is to use the EventKit properties, EventKit values, to provide a start date and end date. So delete the assign date and we'll make these computed variables. Start date, date. And we'll need to write a getter and a setter for our properties. So for example, get would return just the EventKit value, start date. And now let's modify the setter. When something changes the start date in our event wrapper class, it will actually change it in the underlying EK event. So just type the event dot start date equals new value. It's the default variable in Swift name. It's always in scope, so you don't have to create it yourself here. And now you have to do that for every other property, for example, end date, all day, text, and so forth. I'll do it quickly for you. For the attributed text and line break mode, don't change anything. These values will not be used in our tutorial. For the color, we need to get our color from our calendar. So each event is assigned to a specific calendar, for example, red, blue, or green calendar. And those calendars have its own colors. We need to fetch that color and pass it to CalendarKit so it knows which color to display. So remove the property observer, and it will be a get-only property, a read-only property. So you need to get your color by typing EK event, then you fetch the calendar, and getting the actual color. However, because the type is CG color, we need to convert it to UI color. One more thing, when we initialize our event, we need to make sure that the background color and the text color are aligned with our calendar color, because they all are derivatives of the same base color. It happens here in the update colors method, which basically changes each color according to the base color, that is the color of the calendar. Just add one more method call in the initializer. Just call update colors. And to make my code look great, I'll quickly re-indent it. Control I if you don't know this command. So, and last touch is just rename our event so that it will not be confusing with the main CalendarKit event class. Click on the event, refactor, rename. And let's name it EK Roper. Now the class has been created, and we need to change our code in the data source. We will not do this. We will not convert our events manually. Instead, we will just pass the EK Roper class, and it will do the work for us. Feel free to delete everything up to the map, and now just initialize our Roper events with the EventKit events. Just change the parentheses to rounded ones and type the EK Roper dot init, and this will do the job. So now this should compile perfectly, and let's run our application. Everything works the same. We have the same event as before, but way less code, as you can see. Now let's react on the event click. When the user clicks event, let's add the code to show the detail view here. Let's import another framework called EventKitUI. It already contains the view we need, so it will be pretty easy. Let's get the CalendarKit event from our event view, because view is just a view class and we need the data model to be able to show the detail view. Guard let ck event equals event view dot descriptor, so that could be actually of any class, and we need to cast it to EK Roper. And if this does not happen, just return. So we got our CalendarKit event, and we can use it to show the detail view. Now let's get the original EventKit event. And now we can use this EventKit event to show the detail. Let's create one. The class is called EK Event View Controller. And just set the event to it. And now we need to set a few flags to it so that we'll be able to edit our event and show it in the calendar. First property is allows calendar preview and set it to true. This will basically display how our event will look in the calendar. And another property is allows editing, which will make it possible to edit the data. And now we're ready to present it. Navigation controller, push view controller, animate it, and just push it to the navigation stack. Let's run our app again. And now, when I click on the event, it should show a detail page. As you can see, it looks great. And we can also check on the existing default events. They also show up well. Now let's quickly refactor this code and extract this to a separate function. I'll just cut it and create a new private method. I'll call it present detail view. And just call it here. So now we are able to open the detail page, but we still cannot drag and drop as you can do it in the default calendar. Let's add that functionality. So now we can open the detail page and see what's there in the event. But what we want to do is actually to drag and drop the event in a way similar to the default calendar. Now you can just see it, and you need to do editing in this menu in order to change something. What we want is to be able to long press on the event so two handles show up, and then you'll be able to rearrange it the way you want. I'll first go back to the default calendar to show you how it actually works. So here's the event, and you long press on it, and you see two handles. And now if you drag it, you see both the old event and the new one, which is actually where the new date and time will be changed to. So once I lift my finger from the screen, the data is committed. And I can move it back, or I can use this resize handle to change the duration of the event, and now it's big. And basically that's what we are going to replicate in our application. And to exit the editing mode, I just tap somewhere else on the calendar, for example here. So first of all, I would like to explain how the editing works in CalendarKit, because as you can see, it's rather complex process. So as you know, we've created this EK class that's encapsulating the EventKit details and acting as a bridge between CalendarKit and EventKit. So basically, each event you see in the CalendarKit timeline is the EK wrapper. And you know that the callback is called when, for example, Dave, you did select event view. When you tap on it, the same callback is called when you, for example, long press the event. And actually, you can enable editing mode by any other means, by any way you want. But for this tutorial, we are going to use the long press event callback. Basically, once you long press the event, you get this callback. And in order to enable the editing mode, you need to call CalendarKit method called begin editing. So once you call that method, something happens, and instead of one event, you got two basically. And I'll explain what happens next. So once CalendarKit gets the begin editing command, it asks the actual event to provide an editable copy and calls the method called make editable. So this method then basically duplicates the event with the same parameters like a start date, end date, and as you remember, that original event is actually referring to some event stored in the device storage. So this editing role in this case actually refers to the very same event. And one important thing is that in this second event, which has been just created, there is a property called edited event, and it points back to the original. So if you check any CalendarKit event and there is an edited event property and it's not empty, it's not nil, then you know it's this one. It's the one that is active right now that you can edit. So, and the same way, if you don't have if this property is set to nil, so basically there is no edited event property. If there is nothing to edit, then you know it's just a basic event which has the this property set to nil. And once you got the cloned or duplicated event, CalendarKit it adjusts just these event values. For example, when I move this event, for example, from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., it changes the start date and end date of this editing event. And the moment I lift my finger from the screen, the CalendarKit calls you back again, this time with a did update event. And then you basically decide how you act on this change. When you get the did update event method callback in your delegate, you can call commit editing on your event, and what that will do is basically synchronize two events. So the moment I lift my finger, the commit editing is called, and it makes those two events have the same values, so that the original event snaps directly underneath the editing event. And the same happens when you update, for example, start date or end date. You don't have to necessarily move the whole event somewhere. And once you decide that editing is complete, for example, by reacting on another delegate callback, such as did timeline, you call manually save changes and editing. So basically you exit this editing mode. So it's very similar to UI table view editing functionality. So if you're familiar with that, you'll be pretty easy to set it up with CalendarKit. And how about creating a new event, for example, like this? So, well, it's very simple. It means that this event edits itself. So basically the edited event property will point to the same event. Obviously, because there is nothing to edit, there is no saved event in the storage. So that's it. Let's recap it a bit. So first of all, you got the did long press event callback, and you decide how you react on that. And if you'd like to begin editing functionality, you just call the begin editing, and you pass that event into CalendarKit. And CalendarKit, in its turn, just clones this event into two, and the original event stays untouched, and the new cloned event will be edited. And once the user moves the event, for example, to a different location, CalendarKit calls did update event callback, and again you decide how would you react. If you would like the underlying event to snap directly to the new values, you just call commit editing, and that changes the real underlying event. But for example, on iPad, that behavior is different, and you'll need to actually confirm your editing before the data will be saved, and you have the option to cancel. On iPhone, it commits the data, it commits the changes directly. And when you want to exit, you just call end editing. So now let's implement this functionality in our app. So as you remember, we need to react on the did long press event. As you remember, we need to react on the did long press event callback. Let's implement this callback. Did long press event view, And what we need is to call the begin editing. There are two parameters. You can use the begin editing animated, or you can use the option with the without the parameters, without the animated parameter. But I prefer to start animated because this is user interactive mode, so it's better to show some animation. And just we need to get the EK event and pass it here. Very similar, very similar construct as here. I just copy and paste it. And let's pass it here. Just copy and paste. And this should work, although I'll also add another callback and editing just before begin editing. This will ensure if the user long presses one event and then immediately long presses another one, this will end the editing of the first event before beginning the new. So let's run our app again and see if the editing mode could be activated. So scrolling to the event and now long pressing. Oh, fatal error. Of course, as you can see, CalendarKit just called make editable method, and we forgot to implement it back when we just started. So now let's quickly implement this method as well, so that we get the cloned event. As you can see, it's of the same type as the original one. We just need to make a copy. Let's initialize our event. Since all the data in the original event is taken from the EventKit event, then we just need to initialize it with the same EventKit event and it will fetch the same data. Pretty simple. And in order to simplify this, we can actually not write the E key wrapper, but we can just write a big with a capital letter self. And this will initialize the instance of the same class that we're in. And pass the EventKit event. You can remove the init and just pass the existing EventKit event. Don't forget to set edited to the event we're actually editing. So we remove this fatal error and now it should work just fine. Just again to confirm that this edited event is pointing to self, pointing to the parent event, so that they will have this link. Because if you forget this line, then the editing functionality will not work. And let's try to activate the editing event. Yeah, perfect. So you see that now we can edit this event, although the original is still there, it doesn't change. So our edits have no effect on the original event, and we cannot exit it, so except by clicking again. So now let's add another functionality to react on these changes. When, for example, I drag and drop the event here, what I would like to is that the original event also snaps here and follows the this active edited event. As I shown on this schema, we'll need to react on the didUpdate event method. Let's go to the calendar view controller and add that method. didUpdate event. Again, we get the event descriptor, a generic class that we don't know. It's basically a protocol. We don't know what a particular type it is, so we need to do a typecasting to get the our own EK wrapper. So let's populate our dViewDidUpdate event method. And remember that this event is basically the one which is being edited. So basically this active one and not the original one. So we need to get both. So let's create the guardlet construct. We use it a lot. And we call it editing event. And try to typecast as EK wrapper. So basically checking that the type is correct. that is the expected our own custom class. And now let's get the original event. So this one is editing, and the original is being edited. So if let original equals editing event dot edited event. So edited event or editing event dot edited event, it doesn't matter. So if this construct, if this if let passes and there is actually an edited event, you can immediately commit editing. This will update the parent event, which is like not active. So if you can get the original event, then editing event is basically active, and again you need to call the commit editing, which will commit those changes back to the original event. And now let's save those changes to the event store. So we are saving our changes to the event store as soon as the user lifts the finger and stops editing. And don't forget to reload data so that the new changes appear on the calendar. Let's run our app again and see if now we can actually get our editing to work. Alright, editing view is activated. Now let's move it here. And you see the original event snaps back, and now it snaps to the top, and I can drag to this handles as well. So yeah, seems to me that editing is working correctly. The only thing, I cannot exit it. So we need to add a few more callbacks, and we need to react on the did tap timeline. So as soon as the user taps something else but the calendar, the editing mode will be disabled, and we'll go back to the viewing mode. Let's implement this functionality. So if the user did tap timeline, we just end the editing. And the same if the user starts dragging our calendar somewhere here. So as you can see, the event is still in editing mode. We would like to exit it. And let's check it out again. So editing, moving here, and tapping somewhere here. Perfect. Our event now snaps back into the viewing mode. And the same if I try to drag it, it immediately snaps back. That's good, but we need to add event creation option. So in a way as I do in the default calendar, I want to just tap somewhere on the timeline and long press, and then I should get something like this. So the event with about an hour duration, and when I pop it back, I'll get the menu with all of these parameters filled in, so I have to just type the event title and I can get it. Pretty easy. So this is the only thing that is missing in our calendar app to be a perfect clone of the Apple's calendar. Let's implement it. Let's check back how event creation works. I'll quickly show the demo. So as you remember, the created event is the same as edited event, except its property edited event pinpoints to itself. So what we need to do is just create the same event ourselves and change this property to be circular. And we'll be reacting on the did long press timeline method. So right now, if I go to our app, if I try to long press the timeline, there will be nothing happening. So I'll need to fix that. So let's create a did long press timeline method. And this callback immediately gives us the date at which the user has pressed. So for example, if I press it at 7 p.m., I'll get one callback. If I press it at 9 p.m., I'll get another callback, and I'll be able to create event immediately at this spot where the user actually pressed the screen. So yeah, as I shown, we need to create this new event. Let's create it. First, we create new EventKit event. We we need to pass the event store. Yeah, so first of all, we need to create a new EventKit event, and don't forget to pass the event store, because the EventKit event cannot exist without a store. And yeah, just configure it in a way you'd like. So for example, calendar, event store, calendar for default events. Now let's create the date range for our new event. Let's say our newly created event will have 1 hour of duration. Just let's create date components and set it to 1 hour and get our end date. Let's use the calendar date by adding components, 1 hour components, to our date, which is start date. So the date here will be start date and this date will be end date. And now set those dates to our event. And we need to create some title. And as you remember, now we need to package our EventKit event into CalendarKit event. And now let's link the edit event property to the same event. So this will tell CalendarKit that it should show this event with editing controls, and on the other hand, there is no event in the store back in it, so it will still show the controls, but will not show the underlying event, obviously. And to call the create animation, just call the create method, create event animated, and pass your wrapper. Let's see if this works. Alright, so I can clearly drag my newly created event, and if I lift the finger, will it snap back? Oh, it has been created here. And if I click somewhere on the timeline, yeah, the event has been committed. But I can go here and view my newly created event and back. But what I would like to have is another control popping up, similarly to the Apple's calendar. So for example, when I finish dragging, there will be a menu asking me to enter some other information. For example, change the title and probably cancel the event creation. So let's implement that functionality. So in order to show the form with event details, we need to catch the exact moment when the user lifts the finger. So for example, when I just create the event, drag it, for example, I want it to be at 10 a.m. And once I lift it, at this very moment, I should see the form. And the CalendarKit calls the same method, did update event, regardless whether you create or update a new event. It will go through here. For newly created event, the property edited event is the same. So it's a circle. It's a circle reference. We can use that to check if this event is a newly created one or it's just another event being edited. So just add a few more lines and add an if check. If original event 3 equality sign and editing equals editing event. So which means if this instance of this class of the EQ wrapper is exactly the same instance, are we talking about exactly the same object? And if it's exactly the same object, it's basically the newly created event. And if not, this will be our editing flow. And this will be event creation flow. So when we are editing something, when we are editing existing event, we just save it. But remember, when we are creating the event, we do not want to save it yet, because the user might want to cancel it. I'll show you in a moment how the Apple's calendar works. So if I drag event somewhere here and then press cancel, the event will not be saved. So that's why we call event store save only when it's an editing flow, when we are editing an existing saved event. And in the event creation flow, we just need to show this form. So in the same way we created present detail view for event, let's create a present editing view, which just show a different view controller. Present editing view for event, and just pass editing event dot ek event. And of course there is no such method. Let's create it immediately. And the type will be ek event. And now we need to show a different view controller called EventKit editing view controller, which is a bit different from the event view controller, which is just showing the detail, and the editing, it will show the controls to edit. It's basically this view that we'll be reusing. So it's really simple. Let editing view controller ek event editing view controller, just create a new one, and pass our event and event store. And you can present this view controller modally in a way Apple Calendar works. Present view controller. Present view controller animated. And completion is nil. One more thing. So when we show this form, we need to know when the user presses cancel or save and react on the change so that we can dismiss this view back. So let's run the app and see how it works before. Continuing. So yeah, I have a lot of events. I'll try to create a new one, and the form pops up, and if I click on discard changes, it will still be here. So and that's because our view controller doesn't know that the user actually pressed cancel. So in order to react on those changes, we'll just need to implement a delegate method, and that method called event edit view controller did complete. So first of all, just go up to the top of the file and add another delegate. Just press the comma and ek edit ek event edit view delegate, which you will need to implement. And at the bottom, we will create that method. Event edit view controller did complete with action. Basically, this tells that the user has either saved or canceled the event. Yeah, and now just set the delegate here. When creating our view controller, editing view controller dot edit view delegate. It's important not to set this delegate because it's a different one. You need to set the edit view delegate and set it to self. And let's run our app. So I'll switch to tomorrow and try to set the event at 7 a.m. As you can see, perfectly matches the data that we set when dragging our event, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. and it's new event. I press add. And of course nothing happens because we do not react on these callback. So let's finish the editing here. And reload our data and dismiss this view controller. Controller.dismiss, animated true, and completion is nil. Let's try again. The event is there, but the controller didn't dismiss, so I'll drag another event here at 1 a.m. and type something in here. And of course I can change these values to whatever I want, and press add, and the new event is here. Of course I can use editing in order to change the event starting and end date, because everything works as we already implemented that. So that was it. I hope you just built your own copy of the Apple Calendar, and if you have some questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting more iOS related content soon, and of course this whole code will be published on GitHub. You can just check it out, and if something is not working in your app, just free to check out the GitHub and see how could you improve your code to match what we achieved in this tutorial. So hope you learned something, and see you in my next video.